So what does it mean to lose our sandalwood forests? Well, it's not just about more green cover disappearing, but of a loss so immense that it's hard to chronicle in a story. The truth is that sandal or chandan is a critical component in our medicines and in our living traditions. What's more, for thousands of years, the entire world has come to India to buy its sandalwood. Today, though, as Tejas Mehta reports, the sandalwood industry is in rapid decline. All those dependent on it hard hit. And India may soon be in the very absurd position of actually importing sandalwood.
Welcome to Mysore, the sandalwood capital of the world. An epithet that's fast losing meaning. As sandalwood forests disappear, it's this region that most acutely feels the impact. Most strikingly seen here at India's first sandalwood oil distillation unit, which was started by the Diwan of Mysore, Vishveshwaraya, in 1916. But now the factory's sandalwood stock is fast depleting.
It was only 20 years ago that Mysore's sandalwood oil factory was bubbling with activity. It had over 200 workers who had enough work to do right throughout the year. But today, with only 50 permanent employees and little work on hand, what used to be once upon a time the pride of Mysore is today eerily silent.
With less oil being produced, sandalwood oil prices have risen sharply. An acute crisis in oil that forced Karnataka Soaps and Detergents Limited to diversify into other herbal products to avert the risk of closure. And then the unthinkable. The company had to compromise on the quality of its most popular brand, the Mysore Sandal Soap.
See, in the early 60s, 70s, we were using 25% of the perfume used as pure natural sandalwood oil. And over a period of year, because of the non-availability of sandalwood oil, the proportionate content of sandalwood oil in our soaps has also come down. Compared to what was there earlier, definitely there will be a reduction in the impact in the medicinal value of the soap also.
A similar story at the incense stick industry, which now only uses synthetic sandalwood essence.
In 70s, the use of sandalwood powder in an agarbatti, a finished product, it was about 30%, and sandalwood oil was about 5 to 6% sandalwood oil. Now sandalwood oil or sandalwood powder is not being used.
An even more direct impact felt here in Sagar, where 6,000 artisans, locally known as Gudigars, have for generations survived on their skill. Chenna Basappa is the master artisan, highly awarded for his sandalwood carvings. Today, his expert fingers chip away on wood that comes a distant second to the royal sandal.
यही गणेश मूर्ति चंदन में किया तो ये 2 लाख तक बेचता सकता है, अभी ये 50 में होता है.
For the last several years, shortage of sandalwood has halved the income of this community.
Sandalwood has a 4,000-year-old history in India, but it only took up politicians and smugglers a few decades to rob this region of its legacy. However, the rot had begun much earlier when the Maharajas were ruling from this palace.
In the 1790s, Tipu Sultan christened sandalwood as a royal tree and gave the government total monopoly over the sandal trade. Every sandalwood tree belonged to the state. No one else was allowed to sell it. Even if they chose to grow it, they did so for the state. At first, this helped to protect the tree.
At that time, people did not challenge state laws and so on. So sandalwood was regarded as something which should not be touched.
But after independence, the archaic law became Karnataka's bane, as there was no incentive for people to grow sandalwood trees. In 2001, there was an amendment to the Forest Act, which allowed private players to grow the tree. But the impact remains limited, as growers cannot sell it in the open market, but only to the state. Over time, the quantities of sandalwood available in the market has fallen drastically. In just 50 years, down by more than 90%. Prices have skyrocketed, and what was until now only a tree has come to be known as wood and gold. Experts say there is an immediate need to liberalize sandalwood policies.
If these restrictions are imposed on a rigorous scale as it is being done now, a day may come, sandalwood may disappear from Indian market and we may have to depend mostly from other sources.
There are two commonly traded sandalwoods.
India's loss has already become Australia's gain. It has taken the lead in growing sandalwood on a massive scale in an organized and scientific manner. Ironically, Australia is growing Santinum album, the finest species of sandalwood found only in India, saplings of which were taken by Australia more than 30 years ago. With growing demands across the world, Australia will start exporting sandalwood products by 2011. The world, and ironically even Indian companies, are already knocking at Australia's door. In effect, India will then be importing a commodity which was once its exclusive export.
In spite of a neighboring country has taken the technology from India and now they are generating huge income. But here we are still looking and helplessly and getting the raw material from them. I think it will not speak well of any country.
Karnataka's new chief minister agrees there is a need to liberalize sandalwood growing laws and tackle the poaching menace.
I agree that the present policy on sandalwood tree is not people friendly. Private participation in growing sandalwood trees should be encouraged. Government control should come down except for controlling illegal cutting and smuggling.
But for Chennabasappa and others like him, the damage is done.
आप हमारे नेता लोग हैं जो स्मगलर है जिन्होंने सब पेड़ काट डाले आप उनको क्या कहेंगे? उन लोगों को करना क्या है? वो तो हमारा पेट के ऊपर मार दिया है, वो पेड़ काटे हैं नहीं, हमारा हाथ भी काट दिया है.
With camera person Rajesh Swami in Bangalore, Tejas Mehta for NDTV.